Democratic lawmakers and a handful of Republicans are asking, some would say demanding, President Trump provide more clarity, more justification for any U.S. intervention in Iran. On this show Tuesday, Arizona Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego said Americans simply do not have a desire for another war in the Middle East. Listen.
We're sick of wars. It costs us too much, both in terms of just energy and treasury, but also in the fact that, we'll be sacrificing our men and women for a mission that's unclear. The president's not justified why he's even moving in that direction. Are we going after nuclear weapons? Are we going after terrorists? Are we going after ballistic missiles? Are we doing this to support Israel? None of that has been very clear.
Elliot Ackerman and Robert Costa join me now. Elliot is a friend of the show, been on here many times. I'm happy to say that. Former CIA officer and current CBS News contributor. Robert Costa, of course, to my left, CBS News chief Washington analyst and Sunday morning national correspondent. Robert, let me start with you. You've had a chance to talk to the president this week, those around him, those in the MAGA universe. What's the appraisal? What's the sense of things?
Big picture, Major, is that the president's not viewing this from an ideological perspective. He doesn't have some sort of mission he wants to enact throughout the whole region. This is very much based on the reality he's being briefed on from his officials inside the administration, from intelligence officers. He wants to really hear what's the extent of a possible nuclear weapon development program inside of Iran, what action needs to be taken, how do the Israelis see it, how do other stakeholders in the region see it. And he sees it like he sees almost everything as a deal. Is there a transaction here? Can Iran say certain things and take certain steps to avoid a military strike, but he's not taking anything off the table?
Elliot, you heard Robert Costa talk about the idea that this is a certain place, certain region, certain set of dynamics, not what George W. Bush and those around him contemplated in 2003. Well, if we topple Saddam Hussein, possibly we set a small brush fire of democracy throughout the entire region. Evaluate that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it is quite as clear cut. I think, as the congressman made the point before, it isn't yet clear. Is this about decapitating the Iranian regime? Is it about their nuclear program? Is it their ballistic missiles program? What is the scope of the change that we are trying to effect? And it's important to be clear about that, not only when we're communicating to our adversaries, but also that we in the administration know what are the goals here. Because if you don't clearly know your goals, you open yourself up to mission creep, which is how the United States, particularly in the Middle East in the past, has gotten bogged down.
And if something were launched, Iran would have a response. What are the risks and the variables with what Iran could do in the region?
It's important to keep in mind, I mean, war is politics by other means. So, for instance, as we were discussing Iraq, I mean, when the Iraq war began, it was with bipartisan support. And that gave President Bush a certain runway to prosecute that war, which, quickly dissipated. In the case of President Trump, I think if this were brought in front of Congress, there would obviously not be that bipartisan support. So as the politics change at home, that changes the calculus. And if we were to see, for instance, a U.S. service member shot down or a strike on a U.S. ship that was affected, that would also radically change the politics on these strikes in Iraq. And I think the administration just needs to be prepared for that, not only prepared militarily, but also prepared politically.
Robert, pick up on that point. Prepared politically for things that become variables and sometimes hazardous ones once you commence.
That's a great point. And you see right now inside the Republican Party, fragile ground for President Trump to tread on when it comes to what his party is willing to do. They're giving him a lot of bandwidth and room to make a decision. When I spoke to Steve Bannon earlier this week, a key Trump ally who's somewhat skeptical, to say the least, of some of this intervention, he's still not criticizing the president about possible military action. But the Republican Party, in so many of the grassroots corners of the party, have felt burned by the Bush experience 25 years on now, and really believe that the party needs to be careful about moving forward with this kind of escalation.
And Elliot, when you think about the region, Israel is an important part of this conversation. Would you imagine, based on your experience, that they would be co-belligerents in this, meaning if the United States launches something, Israel would participate and be one of the places most potentially vulnerable? And so what we're talking about in terms of risk to U.S. personnel might first flow through anything that might come Israel's way?
Yeah, I think that's a great observation. I mean, obviously, Israel plays a key role in this, and the the set of events that have placed Iran in this position, I mean, really began with the October 7th attacks. So Israel is going to be a very important player in any military action that goes forward. But then just again, to hit this political point, one more time, as the United States launches these strikes, every action provokes an equal and opposite reaction. And, our U.S. forces so far have been exemplary in their professionalism and their ability to get the mission done. But as we saw at the State of the Union, one of the pilots being honored there, was in a Chinook that was nearly shot down in Venezuela. What would have happened if that helicopter had been shot down in Venezuela? And what would happen if you were to have a similar type of incident in Iran? It would very quickly potentially make the war about something else, maybe a war where we're, avenging the fact that we've been attacked as Americans. And there's plenty of historical precedent for that.
Elliot, very quickly, it's been said that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff has made it very clear to President Trump, whatever you want to do in Iran is not like Venezuela. Don't be tempted that one is as doable as the other.
And I think that's because the goals in Venezuela, as we understand them now, were very, very clear. It was a decapitation operation against Maduro. The goals in Iran, at least as presented now, seem much more vague, and it's also difficult to see how there is quite as surgical a target.
Elliot Ackerman, I appreciate the time very much. Bob Costa, last word.
It's so true what Elliot's saying, that there is a lot of risk here for President Trump, and he has been averse since he entered politics to moving forward with this type of action. Yes, he's taken strikes here or there, but he has not wholesale really gotten into a regional war. And so he's considering that, I'm told, in these final hours before a possible decision.
Elliot Ackerman, appreciate your time. Robert Costa here with me at the desk. Always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.